watching CBS 13 News.
You and your family probably drive by guardrails every day. They line the road to help you survive a crash.
Yeah, but some say one model is doing just the opposite, causing horrific deaths and injuries all over the country. A CBS 13 investigation discovers that piece of equipment is being used here in Maine and New Hampshire.
With your safety in mind, investigative reporter John Cresos is going in depth and asking some tough questions.
Most guardrails have what's called an end terminal or plate. There are several different models. This is the model in question, the ET Plus. There are hundreds of them all over the state. They're designed to absorb the impact of a crash and bring your car to a safe stop. But lawsuits across the country allege some of them aren't working like they're supposed to. Instead of slowing cars, the suits allege the guardrails are slicing right through them.
Getting pretty good at this. Not that I want to walk.
Cheryl Turgeon now spends most of her time like this, at home in a wheelchair.
Never thought I'd be sitting in one of these things, you know?
9 months ago, she nearly lost her leg and her life after a crash in New Hampshire.
I see that myself, and I say, oh my God, I survived through that. It was a miracle, and I'm surprised I'm still here.
Turgeon says she doesn't remember the details of the crash last July.
Just driving along and apparently either dozed off or something and don't remember the rest.
But a state police crash report and pictures obtained by 13 Investigates pick up where her memory ends. Her SUV drifted off Route 9 in Stoddard and collided with a guardrail end. According to the report, the guardrail folded on itself and penetrated the SUV, which caused severe injuries to Turgeon's legs.
That guardrail just came right through, you know, like the car was nothing.
Turgeon hasn't filed any lawsuits against the maker of that guardrail, Texas-based Trinity Industries, but at least a dozen other people across the country have. The suits claim the ET Plus end terminals are malfunctioning and turning guardrails into sharp, giant spears.
To represent that this is a safety device is absurd. There is no question. What I discovered is the single largest safety issue that faces the traveling public today.
Guardrail industry professional Josh Harmon won a $175 million whistleblower lawsuit against Trinity. Harmon used to make and install guardrail products in Virginia at his own competing company. Last October, a jury found Trinity quietly made cost-cutting design changes in 2005 to its ET Plus without telling the government. The year before, a company leader wrote in this internal email, included in court records, "We could make this change with no announcement." Trinity insists it did nothing wrong and is appealing the verdict. The Federal Highway Administration sided with Trinity, calling Trinity's failure to tell the agency about the design change inadvertent. But Harmon says before that change in 2005, Trinity's end plates worked perfectly.
That model was a work of art. It worked flawlessly. It saved thousands of people's lives.
This crash test video from 1999 shows that original model in action. The plate absorbs the impact as it slides over the guardrail. After the dust settles, you see the guardrail properly peeled out and away from the truck. 6 years later, Trinity made what it calls a design improvement, reducing one part of the system, the guide channel, from 5 inches to 4 inches. That internal email estimates the so-called improvement would save $2 a unit. Harmon says the small change causes the channel to jam up and stop sliding like it's supposed to.
I started noticing them failing.
Trinity tells CBS 13 it's confident in the performance of the ET Plus. Trinity said the ET Plus is a robust end terminal system that performs as designed. Would you say it performs as designed?
It does not perform as it was intended.
How dangerous would you say this product is, in your opinion?
This is a death trap. There's no question.
But the Federal Highway Administration sees things differently. Last month, the agency released a whole new round of crash tests, saying the ET Plus passed them all, even this one. It shows the test car hitting an ET Plus at about 60 miles an hour. The car spins out, crashing into a now bent piece of metal guardrail as the driver's door caves in. From the inside, you can see the steering wheel pushed out of place as the intrusion hits the dummy's leg. The feds say the test passed because the driver would likely not have been seriously injured. And Trinity says the ET Plus demonstrated satisfactory performance. But safety advocates point out this test is different from the others. As you can see, the guardrail folded over. It did the same thing in Turgeon's real-life crash. We showed the pictures to Harmon.
This looks just like Test 8, how the head locked up.
The New Hampshire Department of Transportation says its records show the N-terminal Turgeon hit was made by Trinity and installed the year after the company made its design improvement.
When her vehicle hit the front of this, the railing folded over, and when it folded over, this portion came through.
Put your loved one in that seat and tell me you'd feel the same way. That's a lot of damage.
Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal is also questioning the federal test results. The Federal Highway Administration has given the ET Plus a passing grade after allowing the manufacturer to conduct sham tests rife with flaws, he said in a statement. The feds estimate there are 200,000 4-inch ET Plus terminals installed in the United States, about 3,000 in New Hampshire and 400 in Maine.
They're all over the roads, everywhere. It upsets me that they still keep these on the road and that I have to travel by these.
Harmon says every single one of them should be removed.
Absolutely, they have to be product recall.
Trinity says there's no valid reason for the ET Plus to be removed. In fact, the ET Plus is still eligible for federal reimbursement, but many states have stopped installing them, including Maine and New Hampshire.
When it comes to safety, we always try to take the conservative approach.
But we wanted to know about the hundreds already installed in Maine since the company modified the design. When people drive by these terminals here in Maine, should they be concerned about their safety?
I really don't think people should be concerned about their safety with these that are still out there.
So you think they're safe?
I do think they're safe.
That does little to calm the concerns of critics like Josh Harmon and Cheryl Turgeon, who say they believe there's a dangerous flaw at the end of thousands of guardrails, a flaw that put her on the long road to recovery.
This is how I have to get by. I'm getting there, see? Before I couldn't even do this.
A spokesman for Trinity told me the company stopped shipping the ET Plus in October, but says the product has been successfully crash tested more times than any other guardrail end. Meanwhile, the Federal Highway Administration is expected to decide this summer if there should be more testing on this now controversial piece of highway safety equipment. John Chrysos, CBS 13 News.